Right, hello everyone. Well, here we are back at the London City Airport and have the same problem as before. Very low frame rate, and really disregarding whatever you do, it doesn't seem to make any difference. If I disregard disable that, I can disable most of the plugins that I don't need to use, and there is no real difference to the frame rate that I was getting. Well, I went on the Orbx forum and a very kind gentleman directed me to a previous article where something similar was happening. So I'm hoping, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can see it, because this is the article that it led to, and I'll give a link to it. And this chap describes about deleting the explain preferences folder, but making sure that you keep a copy of your joystick settings and your explain key. Now, I got mine from Steam, so my explain key doesn't seem to be there, but joystick settings and the preferences does. So I was just wanting to show you what it does, because it made an immediate improvement up to 30-35 frames immediately, which obviously is the answer to the question. The downside is that the second time you boot up X-Plane, it goes back to the really low frame rate again. So somehow something is being corrupted or done from the Orbx software or X-Plane as itself. I'm assuming what I'm doing here is in some way doing a clean install, because when an X-Plane first boots up again after doing this process, it's like starting again right from scratch, and then you copy back in your joystick settings and so on. So without further ado, let me just show you. We've got 12 frames a second. It's already giving me warnings. There we go. Lovely textures, beautiful scenery, but unflyable. So I'll drop this down here, hopefully without pressure. And of course the low frame rate really makes the helicopter very difficult to control. So if we stop the program, we're going to look for a file here called X-Plane Output Preferences. Now, this chap, I think, has bought the license direct. I did mine through Steam. So let's just have a look and see. So if I go to my Steam directory, which is in D, go down to Steam Library, then Steam Apps, Common, X-Plane, and then we have Output here, and then we have Preferences. In that preference folder is a Control Profiles. Now, I've already made a copy of my control profiles, and so what you need to do is delete this altogether, so I'm told, which I will now do, and then reboot up X-Plane, and it will install those files. Now, because we're doing a video, this takes a long while to reload in. I'll jump when it comes back in and then we'll see what the difference is and the effect that it has. Right, so you can see we're back to X-Plane as it was when you originally get it, and so on. So we don't need to keep it going. We can stop that, quit, and we go back to our original file. So back to D, Steam library, Steam apps, common, X-Plane, output, and then the preferences, and then we re-put back in, copy, the control profiles. Now, even though I've done that, when this boots up next time, I have had some trouble with the joystick and my homemade collector, but I'll just drop that file down and we'll reboot up X-Plane. And again, I'll go quiet for a while because this takes a while to load in, and we'll say resume last flight. So last flight we were at very low 10, 13 frames per second. As you can see here, it says open joystick configurator. I've got a profile set up, helicopter 1. I'm hoping that's going to do my collective. You can see it moving now. It might not, I might have to do it again, but let's just go to resume flight again. Right, so we're back in the original program again. We'll jump to it's as if you're starting again. It's wiped out the things that we're actually after. I want the Capri and I want London. There it is. So we put in London City Airport. We'll have it around 12 o'clock and we'll go for the Capri start. Now remember, the last time that we were there showing this off, the frame rate was down in the 10s and the 13s, and in some way clearing that small preferences file is like, I suppose, reloading the program again from scratch. Now I'm not sure what other effects that has. I don't know if that affects your replays or anything else. It was just an answer somebody sent me, and for the one flight that you do now, you do end up with a very high frame rate, and probably better than I've seen before. The downside is that once you switch the computer off and you go back and reload the program, it goes back to 10, 13 frames per second and you have to delete and start again. So I'm hoping somebody will have a better answer to this dilemma. Maybe it's something that Orbx will have to do, or maybe there's a trick that somebody knows out there that we can have a look at. So I'm hoping next time it loads, we'll be back in the Capri and we'll be at somewhere around 30 frames, completely flyable. So we're back in the Capri. We need to set up a few things. Graphics, I always fly at around 112 degrees, which is supposedly the sort of natural view that you've got. We're going to put these up to where I would normally have them flying. done. And again, I'll edit this down so we don't have to wait. Right, so we're back here. Go to data output. Get the FPS. 35 frames or so a second. Delete. Disable the plugins here that are not needed. There's that. And give ourselves that lovely blue sky that we should have. I'm not going to bother with clouds, but I will bother with viewing distance. Just bring it back normally to around there for me. So there we are, we're back at London City Airport, exactly the same as before, but 35 frames a second. Now I might have to recalibrate or do some joystick stuff here, I'm not sure yet. So let's just jump in. Joysticks, gear shift to helicopter 1 profile. That's moving. I'm not going to calibrate. Oh yes, I will. Might as well. Ignore axis. Next. We then will go to the HOTAS and that seems to be working fine, but we will calibrate. Ignore. The axis somewhere I've changed over, so we'll make that pitch. That looks more flyable. So we're in exactly the same scenario as we were before. Very low frame rate, and here we are now 36 frames a second at the airport. My collective for some reason isn't working, so I'll just reboot that in, and I've got a special switch that one's on, so as you can see, a lot of messing around, but for this one go, 36, 37 frames there at the airport. Let's head off to the Tate & Lyle building. So, great graphics, big improvement. There's some nice logos. A bit jerky there, sorry on the flying. The roads look better, a lot more traffic, car parks, more aircraft. The runway texture is different, it looks beautiful, the parked aircraft. No, I didn't have the drawn aircraft. I never tend to fly with that on. But again, we're heading a few glitches, maybe not on the graphics there on the car. 30 odd frames there. Obviously certain areas still playing up, but if we head off towards Canary Wharf, nose down, they've added in a dummy aircraft for the fire patrol or fire engines to practice on at the end of City Airport there. That was new, the bridge is new. As we go down here, lots of graphics, as I've said in that previous video. Really, really nicely done. But look, we're doing it at 30 odd frames a second. We drop down. Looking a bit more detail from low down. Completely flyable, no problems whatsoever. So, deleting those files, having to recalibrate the joysticks has given us a much higher frame rate that wasn't there before. Now, the catch, as I mentioned earlier, is that if we now stop X-plane, just quit, and I go straight back into it again, and we say resume last flight, which we know we had 30 odd frames on the ground, and again I'll edit out the wait for this. Right, and so we're now back in the program, and so this is the second time I've loaded, and the first or the last flight at this position we were hitting 30 odd frames. Now on a second load, same position, I'm going to say, right, I haven't altered the blue sky, but we're at 10 frames a second there. The settings, when it actually takes effect, have a look. Graphics is the same as before, and so in some way that first go must clear out a cache or a load of rubbish in some way. That's my basic knowledge of computers. And when the program closed down, it is then corrupted or filled up again in some way. Now, I don't want to go through the process of having to clear that folder down, recalibrate controllers and so on. I'm really hoping somebody out there better than me who knows computers will have the answer. So the chap that put me in touch with this article is a member of the Orbx group, and I did ask for permission to use his name, but I've had to make this video in the meanwhile. But he gave me the link to this, and I would like to thank him very much because it nearly worked. It was nearly the answer. The difference I have is that mine is a Steam edition, and here they're also saying about keeping the X-plane keys. Now my guess is that you keep the X-plane keys because that is your license for the program, where what I did is looked after by Steam, and so Steam looks after the keys. So keeping the joystick settings, deleting the rest, restarting X-plane, then putting your joystick settings back in gives you the faster frame rate, but I did have to mess around with the joysticks for one go of flying around. As soon as you switch off and then go back in, we're back to the very low frame rates here that we can see. So if anyone does have the answer, it would be great to hear what it is. I certainly am no guru to do with computers, and I'm hoping that, as I mentioned earlier, it's an error or something that Orbx have done, or something with X-Plane where it's not doing good housekeeping and tidying up after files are loaded in. But if anyone does know, please let me know. Put it in the box below, as it were, or email me directly. If I've made a complete fool of myself and not spotted something that everyone else is doing, I can only apologise, but this does work. It works once, and then it doesn't work for the second time. You have to go through that procedure. So anyone that knows, please put the answer up underneath the Facebook things where I post. And for those of us that are fairly new to X-Plane, you know, I didn't know about this housekeeping file, or a file that could be deleted and started again. Any tips and tricks especially, always greatly appreciated to get faster frame rates, which is what we're all after. So you can do it, but you can only do it once on the answer that I have. Hopefully somebody who's a lot cleverer than I am out there will have the answer to be able to do it, so it stays like it permanently. So again, thanks for watching, and there was an answer, but it's not a permanent answer. So talk to you soon. Hope somebody's got the answer to this problem.